traders, this is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar, and it is Friday. Woohoo! It's Friday, 10/9/2015. I can't believe I'm going to Disneyland. I'm really excited about this whole Disneyland thing. I mean, I get to go see, I want to go do some Jedi training at Futureland or Adventureland or, hell, I don't know where I'm going, but all I know is my kids are going to have so much fun. They have no idea, by the way. They have no idea. We're not telling them until we get in the car later this afternoon. Isn't that fun? I set out a couple of sweatshirts so they think we're going to someplace cold. They're like, we're going to Flagstaff. And by the way, if there's anybody in northern Arizona, apparently there was another shooting in northern Arizona today. It's so sad. It's like I go to Flagstaff all the time. But NAU, which is Northern Arizona University, there was another shooting, and it's sad. It's like, man, and Flagstaff is full of tree huggers too. I mean, that's just like, that's what I mean. It's amazing. Anyway. Those of you guys that live in Europe or Asia or anywhere else, you're probably like, how in the hell does this happen? I mean, most countries don't allow guns, and I'm a gun owner. I'm a gun owner, and I really don't know what the solution is or the answer is, but I can tell you this for a fact, that like countries that don't have guns, the shooting fatalities are a lot less. And no, do I want anybody to take my gun? But I'm just saying it's a fact. I don't know what the solution is either, Anyway, okay, that's a different subject that we probably shouldn't even talk about. So let's look. Here's the euro dollar. So the euro dollar breached the 13.22 level, which was a 618. That held us quite a bit up until, obviously here in European trade. That we were knocking our head up against that 618, bam, bam, bam. Yesterday we hit our head up against it, rejected, squarely off of it. And then obviously this is a good old-fashioned stop run. So if you take like the spike high to the next low, we're at the 127% extension. We're stalling here, but, obviously, a move up to the 161% extension up to 114 or 113.83, which would be the 786, seems very doable this morning. So I think this is all can be done up here. All right, so before you get too aggressively long the dollar, just understand that the euro is trying to push. It is capable of at least making it up to 113.83, which I'll write as 113.85. Okay, we are still in a range environment. As much as you'd like to say, oh, but the euro's so bullish, it really is a range environment. It sucks. It sucks that it's so, but it is. But here we are, nonetheless. And now any dip down to 113.20 is probably going to find buyers. If we fail at 113.20, that's going to be a big failure on a daily chart too, if that should happen. So just be really careful here. If we, spike, see how this big green bar is green right now, but if it turns not, if it has a big wick at the end of the day and we close below 113.20, that's not going to be a very bullish sign. So right now 113.20 should offer decent support for those of you that want to be on the long side of the euro. Just know that. Let's take a look at the cable. Okay, so the pound yesterday, it made a nice round trip actually. So the pound, following the FOMC minutes, so the pound sold off, rallied back, hit 153.70 again, set up for a potential double top. Okay, then in Asia it rallied to the 50% retracement, which is at 153.80, and rejected there big time. Okay, and now we've started coming down again. Now I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to note that this 50% retracement is now extremely critical for bulls. Okay, because not only did we set up like this, here I'll go back to the hourly. Not only did we set up this semi quasi double top, okay, it's doing it again just like it did yesterday. It's the pound. You got to understand this about the cable. We hit a high. We hit a high. Of course, there's going to be people that say, I'm going to short the cable. I'm going to put my stops above the highs. They're not looking at that 50% right there. They get stopped out, as we breach that high. They get stopped out, and remember, this candle was green at some point, and they go, God dang it, I got that stopped out again, as it went to the high. So now 153.80, 2, what's the high here? 82, 80. I mean, that was it. The 50% retracement, 153.82. It's going to be critical resistance at this point. It is in a range. As annoying as it is, the cable is in a range. Now, support. My assumption is at this point is that support is down here at 152.60. Because let me explain something to you as far as this goes. If for some reason we come down and we break 152.60, that is going to be a double or triple top. We break through that, we're coming down to like 151 pretty quick too. Based on this price action though, I wouldn't bet on that happening. I probably would imagine that coming down here, you're probably going to get a good opportunity to get long right between 152.60, maybe 152.40, because imagine the false break to the upside, we could get a false break to the downside. So it's just if we get a solid break, that's when you start looking at a double, triple top or whatever. But here, we could very easily do this. Let me grab the pen. We could very easily do this, come like that and then bounce and do that nonsense because it's the cable. It's good at doing it. Why not? Break higher, break lower, range bound. But if we get a solid break below here, then that exposes a move down here, because then you have to think this way. Okay, roughly. It's not what I want. 150, 150. Okay. If that's a big if. It's a big if. Okay. So right now, 152.60. Really, it's support. It's very, very annoying. Trying to get directional with the cable. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that. Let's go to the Swissy. So the Swissy just hit its 786 retracement. Now you have to realize the Swissy is weak because the dollar is weak. The Swissy is not weak because the Swissy is strong. All right. So because if you look at the Swissy, you go, oh man, damn, Swissy is so weak. No, it's the euros. Well, the dollar's weak. This is not Swiss weakness, because if it was, that wouldn't be happening on the Aussie Swiss. The Euro Swiss would not be above 109 right now. Okay, if it was Swiss strength. New Zealand Swiss, wouldn't be so strong if it was. If it was the Swiss franc. It is really just the dollar. All right. So with that being said, if you look at the Swiss E, we hit the 786 retracement, 95.95, which we're sitting on it right now. I mean, we basically hit the 786 retracement. I mean, I'd hate to write that down as support, but well, the cable's about ready to hit new lows. Or did it? It's about ready to. Notice, the cable's been so strong for the last several days. Notice how bad it's underperforming today, and everything else is rallying against it. Observation. Oh, come on, dollar Canadian. Bounce. You were down 110 pips when I bought you. Now you're only down 86. Continue to rally. That would be nice. Okay, so the cable, excuse me, the Swissy, I'm going to write down 95 and a quarter. Hold on really fast. I'm going to write down 95 and a quarter, actually 95.50. But I'm also going to write these two levels too. So Swissy support 95.50, 95.95, which is the 786 retracement. I know we're sitting just above it. That's why I don't want to just write that down. Now, any rally in the Swissy is capped by this blue line. So no matter what happens today, that should stuff it. So any move up to 97 cents, it's going to find resistance. So even like, let's just say you decide to buy the Swissy here in the next hour. You're like, oh man, we're getting a rally. So you get long and it stops at 97 cents. That's probably a good place to, from an intraday perspective, like if you ended up going, oh, it's going to rip now and you bought it, then I would be a seller up at 97 cents if you don't want to hang on to it longer term. Okay. So we are in a godforsaken range here too. All right. Grab a drink of my coffee. Come on, Kiwi. Show me what a piece of silliness you are. That's right. Prove it. Prove it. Let's see. Dollar. Hold on really quick. Bear with me, guys. Fa la 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 la. Sorry, just making a few adjustments here. Okay. All right. Kevin says, I think the word you were looking for is shiz. That's might have been it. Let's go to the dollar yen. Speaking of piece of silliness, the dollar yen is just annoying as all get out. Now, okay, let's stop here for a second and let's just, I mean, you know how unexcited I am about the yen at the moment. Although just so you know, I did short some New Zealand yen and I shorted a little bit of Canadian yen today. But as far as the dollar yen goes, I mean, 120.55, 119.60, there. That's it. Just leave it alone. As far as this goes, there's no reason to be trading this right now. Whoop. None. Not saying there won't be at some point, but man, right now, there's no reason to be trading that at all. All right, dollar Canadian. So the dollar Canadian, I had a limit order to buy the dollar Canadian at 129 last night. It did not get triggered. Okay, we went as low as 129. I canceled it and then turned around and bought it. I should have just left it in. It was one of those things. Why'd I get up so damn early? If I would have just slept in and got up when my alarm went off, I would have got triggered into the Kiwi at a better price. I would have got tripped into the Canadian at a better price. But yeah. Anyway, 127% extension is 128.90. Do keep that in mind just in case we do have a strong Canadian jobs report. Now, remember, out of the analysts are expecting 10,000 jobs to be created out of Canada. They're expecting the unemployment rate to drop to 6.9%. Now, again, from the Canadians I talked to, they would laugh me out the door if I said, yeah, the Canada's supposed to create 10,000 jobs and unemployment rate's supposed to drop. They'd be like, ha ha, ah. But that's what analysts are looking for. In the event that we do get some strong Canadian data, okay, 128.90 is really key support. That is the 127% extension. So, whoops, what did I just do? Cursor window, that's what I want. In the event that we hit new lows, like strong jobs report, we hit new lows, boom, if we tag that new low and we hit that support, you might actually consider getting long down there. Like, false breakdown and then boom, right off that level. Okay. So just, keep that in mind. Now, resistance, any move back up to, well, obviously we're not, well, we may go up there, who knows? Right there is resistance. So that comes in at 129, let's just call it 129.80, okay? 129.80 is key resistance today. 1.2980, key resistance. We are definitely in a range. Daily chart, that is a big red candle right now. By the end of the day, if we can end up at 130 or better, that's going to be a big hammer. But Canada would have to lose jobs, this last month and in September, and unemployment would have to probably stay at 7% in order for that to happen. I'm just talking out loud, but wow, look at the pound, new lows. Cable, new lows. Pound, new lows. What a weak currency today. Okay. Let's take a look at what else were we looking at? Oh, Kiwi. Okay. So the New Zealand dollar. Let's look at the flag after flag after flag, right? Flag, 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 right into resistance. Now, it's interesting about this move, and it ended up working out just as I thought, and like I said, I shouldn't have got up early. If I wouldn't have gotten up early, I wouldn't have been so, I would have been more patient. But what I was assuming is we're going to break above 67 cents, stop out some people, finish up this flag, maybe take us up to 67.40. But I wanted to get short at 67.20. The high overnight was 67.20. It's, okay, who listening in is in my chat room? Listening into the webinar right now that's in the chat room. Fred is, Jeff is, Tiago, Jared, Michael, Larry, Lorraine, Gary, Stan, Whit. You guys remember last night before I left, I said, listen, I'm gonna put a short order in for the Kiwi at 67.20, and I'm gonna put in a buy order of the dollar Canadian at 129. And I did that before I left yesterday. I had to go pick up the kids, and man, that just shows you what that shows you is that I, like you, if you ever do this, don't feel bad. And John is too, and so is Nick is too, and Rick, and I, like you guys, I'm not always as patient as I should be. I am human, just like the rest of you, and so I myself made the mistake of not, just not letting my orders get tripped, being patient, and I got and DK is too, and I got in early, which which obviously cost this morning it's cost me about 600 bucks getting up early just in those two trades alone based on where they're at right now. Sucks, but again, it's part of being a human. You know what I mean? But I do, I make mistakes just like everybody else. So don't think that, oh, Blake's been doing this 20 years. He should, he should be perfect. I think as a trader, because you're a human, you're always going to be imperfect, and there's no such thing as a perfect trader. I don't think. I mean, I guess there's probably people that are more disciplined than myself, um, but I'm a pretty disciplined guy. But I still get, like when I got up this morning, we had hit in the Kiwi dollar, we hit a high of 67.17. I want to say that was the high when so we hit a high of 67.17. Yeah, 67.17. And I'm like, shit. I mean, I was like, shoot, it missed my entry order by 3 pips, and we were back down here. I'm like, I've got to enter now because that was so close. And of course it comes back up and actually would have hit my limit and then reversed. And it may still go higher from here. I'm just saying, but that just shows you that I get whipped around too, because it hit here, I got up and it was down here. And I'm like, okay, rally back to 67 and change. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get short here. And then it goes up to 67.20, hits where I should have just originally left in my order, and then comes down. Again, I'm not perfect. So I want you all to know that, because some people have this misconception that, oh, Blake conducts a webinar, and Blake's been doing this for 20 years, and he's the chief currency strategist of WiseTrade. So he obviously he doesn't make mistakes at all. But I do, just like anybody else. I take losses like everybody else. Those gains that I made in the pound Canadian and pound Aussie short, those gains this week that I just made, that I closed those out, like the pound Aussie for 275 pips, that trade and the pound Canadian, because they were smaller positions, all they did is they made up for losses that I took in the yen pairs earlier this week. You know what I mean? So those trades, they sound great. It's like, wow, yeah, I made, cumulatively, I made 300 pips in both of those trades. Yeah, it's great, but it made up for that the bad yen trades that I had earlier this week. That they were small, but again, you put all those together, and I basically was just making up some lost ground. So, again, I'm human just like everybody else, guys. All right. So with the Kiwi, I think we got, oh no, shoot, we didn't write the numbers down. Okay, so can we go any higher than where we're at? Yes, I would say 67.40 would be a good target up here. 67.30 is a 38% retracement. That is of my low point, but your low point may be a little different. So really, this resistance up here is 67. Let's just call it 67.50. I think that's probably right up here. Oh, 67.70. Okay. 67.70 key resistance. We're in a range, guys. And I assume that we're probably pretty overbought here. Any move down to 66.50 should find support. Okay, when I get back, we'll do the Aussie and then we'll do the dollar index. And don't go anywhere. I'll be back in a few moments. Thanks everyone for being here. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You were listening to the Morning Edge webinar. I hope you guys are having a great trading session. Happy Friday to you. So we're going to go take a look at the Aussie dollar. I was just taking a look at the peso, which we'll come back and look at here in a moment. So here's the Aussie. The Aussie, I actually think can go a little further. I think this 127% is doable. Obviously, we've seen some pretty good moves out of the Aussie. Let's clear up some of this stuff here from the last few days. I need that. I don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. And okay, so here we are. And actually, we don't need that right now. So here's the Aussie, and you know, we may be setting up for a Gartley here too, which would put us right here at 73, 72. You know, that is definitely a possibility. So 73, 72, and you know, if everybody's looking to sell there, we might stop short of it. I mean, we went as high as 43, but let's say that 73.70 is good resistance. 370. If we got up there, I might actually short the Aussie, but I think that's going to be pretty good resistance. Um, Support for the Aussie dollar. Any dip down now to 72.80 is going to be very well supported. Okay, let's go over to the dollar index. So the dollar index, we broke through the 38% retracement. Here, I'm gonna have to refresh that. Euro's coming down a little bit too. Man, okay, this is moving very slow. Let's try this again. All right. I hate all these advertisements, but I guess it's what you got to go through to get a freaking dollar index chart. All right, while we're waiting on that, let's go over to the peso. Too sure what's up with that site. So okay, so here's the peso. So the peso is rallying with risk appetite, right? So the peso is going up as risk appetite is uh, is stronger. Typical. All right. So we are seeing the U.S. dollar Mexican peso slide. Now we should be coming into support here, and this will be good for those of you that trade the peso. Okay, this will be at 16. Let's just call it 1620. Okay, for those of you that are trading it, and we're in a range here because I mean, you may say, oh, well, aren't we going down, Blake? We are, but we're just more or less in a range. Resistance is all the way back here. By the time we get back up there, it'd be 1660. $16.60, and support will be at 16.20. I think is what we had down, right? Maybe even a little bit lower than that. Hold on. 16.18. We're in a range now. Okay. Man, that thing is just not loading, huh? All right. Let's take a look at these other ones here. Here's the US dollar Norwegian krona. So the US dollar Norwegian krona, man, it cracked that trend line. I think a lot of this had to do with the break of crude oil above above 50. We will have support right here. You can, well, it's actually right through here, all through here, right kind of where we're at. But 803. The problem with the Norwegian krona though, and this is a obviously a pretty big issue, is the false breakout above the highs here. That false breakout above the highs is leading to a reversal. Um, so for those of you that trade the Norwegian krona, you got to be real careful here. Any move back up now to, this is the daily chart, so any move back up towards 818 should find some sellers. And we went from a bullish trend to a range, just like everything else. Let's take a look at the Swedish krona. Somebody had mentioned, and I'm sorry I'm not looking at the questions, but I saw somebody mention about the US dollar Swedish krona on support. We're near some pretty key support here. I just kind of drew that. We're heading down towards some pretty critical support. I don't think we're close enough to play it on the long side yet, but obviously if the euro for some reason just turns lower right now, that would create a big bounce here. You know, so yeah, I don't know if we were down here, if I was trading the Swedish krona, I'd be thinking about being on the long side, but we're off. Okay, so here is your bias chart. Now, let me take some of your questions. So, yeah, what comment that came in from Jay? Home on the range, where the deer and the antelope play.